My guy Rakimul Haq here with me for another episode of the morning after. We just had Afghanistan versus New Zealand here at the Cricket World Cup today. Rakimul, to start off, Afghanistan coming off of a high after beating England. A lot of expectations going into this game, but not much to show for it today.
One of the things they started off with was basically on the wrong foot, and that is the toss. We heard Simon Dool mention to Jonathan Trott that why would you consider the fact that, okay, no, in Chennai it's better to chase, or New Zealand are a good chasing team, when you yourself are predominantly a bowling dependent team
Yeah,
that does better when they're defending. And we
yeah,
saw that against England. That
yeah.
is the exact same game that you have to show against New Zealand. It's okay. There, hindsight is
They
2020.
misread
Maybe they
it.
would have
Yeah,
lost.
yeah,
Still, yeah, maybe they could have still lost while defending, but at the very least, they would have been playing to their own strengths, which we spoke about yesterday. That's what Netherlands did.
yeah,
It's very important for teams to realize, for teams like Afghanistan, Netherlands, possibly even Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, to realize that it's important whether they lose or win. It's important at this point to just play to their strengths. They're not
right.
presenting enough on paper or with their skill set to just match everyone in
If
terms of
yeah,
these strategies,
yeah. And
which
I
can be
think
played more on when.
I think a big part of that is because you talk about strengths is one of their key batters, Ramanullah Gurbaz, is a predominantly a better batter in the first innings than he is in the second innings. Records at least show for that, right? So if you're going to play to your strengths, you have to allow those guys, Gurbaz, Zadran, Shahidi, Rahmat Shah, to play, a bit of a free cricket, essentially, not have that scoreboard pressure on them where they're chasing on a certain total, right? So they were always behind the eight ball, you could say, in their run chase. So um, one thing we saw Afghanistan field really well in the England game. We except maybe one or two misfields in the field, they fielded comparatively well. This game, five drop catches, one stumping miss. Uh, is that where they lost the game?
Pretty much. It has to be. I mean, they were dropping catches every time they had the best opportunity to basically take the grip of
Yeah.
the game, just take that
And it
chokehold
started off with the
grip
second
of
ball
New
of the
Zealand.
second ball of the innings, right? And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, even then, even more so, I think when they were dropping Tom Latham and Glenn Phillips, when they just got into that proper partnership, they were still under pressure from
yeah.
disciplined bowling. And it sort of lets the bowling down. It lets all the fielders down. It lets your captain down. What am I saying? The captain himself was dropping
He was
catches.
dropping. Hashmadullah Shahidi was not looking at the ball today. That is
No, no,
100%
no.
sure. Yeah. No.
It sort of lets everyone down.
Yeah. Thoughts on the pitch. I think this is India's this is typical Mirpur India ranked turner. Even there were some deliveries that they were talking about from Mitchell Santner where he didn't have a lot of revs on the ball, but it was still turning square. And he bowled a dream left arm orthodox spinner's dismissal to get Mohammad Nabi out. And then after that, Afghanistan really didn't have much to show for it. Their tail wagged a little last game, but they lost 4 wickets in 8 balls, 9 balls, something like that. The last 4 wickets. So, is that a sign for what Chennai will be going deeper into the tournament? We always know it turns, but this was like turning a lot more, especially in the second innings.
Absolutely. And teams need to understand that the due factor isn't always going to come in. You can't rely on the due factor as much, not in
Yeah,
Chennai at least.
yeah,
I mean that's very different from what you see in the IPL in March, April. The due comes in a lot more than it is here in April.
and the
Sorry,
weather,
in
weather,
October.
yeah, and the weather is different, super different at that time, right?
Super different.
Yeah,
So having said all of that, it's also true that Afghan batters did not show their best application. They could have definitely done better. So I don't want to say this is a complete rank turner based on Afghanistan's performance, because had it been a rank turner, I don't
they
think New
did.
Zealand would have gotten that 280 plus
Yeah,
score.
yeah,
So having said all of that, it's a bad day in the office for Afghanistan. It sort of derails the momentum that you were talking about they had been carrying from the England game, but it's okay. It again, but knowing Afghanistan, I don't think they'll let it get too much into their heads. They'll just
Yeah, yeah, it might be
show up
just
for the next game.
might just scratch it off and things like that. But uh, moving on to New Zealand's batting, um, they just seem like the most balanced team on this World Cup by any stretch of imagination. What do you have to say about New Zealand's? This is probably their first game that they've had a proper, had to basically build it up kind of a thing. They didn't get that start from the top that they got in the last 2, 3 games. So New Zealand's batting, what's it looking like for you?
I think it's a very good thing that in an inconsequential game like this, I know in a World Cup there is no inconsequential game, but
But this is,
I mean in the
yeah,
grand context of things, it might seem a little inconsequential. In
yeah.
a game like this, they sort of
Rashid
got to test
Rashid
their
Khan's
lower
about
middle
to give
order
you a call after that comment.
with Jonathan Trott next to him.
Yeah, yeah,
No, no, no. But in all seriousness, when you get to test your lower middle order the way they, could give proper time in the crease to Glenn Phillips in particular. Tom
yeah.
Latham, I think he had a go against
Go
Netherlands.
Netherlands. Yeah, yeah,
So for Glenn Phillips, we know how capable he is. We know he has played in Indian conditions plenty of times. So for him to have that proper go out there in the middle today, I think that was absolutely essential. And it sort of helps that you have that safety net when you know that your top four, top I don't want to say top five, just the top four don't click. You still have players like Tom Latham, Glenn Phillips coming in.
yeah.
Mitch Santner can bat, and who else? Who else is there?
Um, Mark Chapman.
Mark Chapman, oh yes, he's
Yeah,
a proper
a
batsman. He's
proper
got
batsman.
centuries here in India, so
Yeah, yeah.
again,
I
they
think
have
I
all the
think they've
safety net they need.
I think with Mitchell and Chapman having the roles that they have, I think initially I thought they would have flipped roles, where Chapman would be batting more in the middle order and Mitchell would be doing the finishing. But I think the role that they've actually given them for the World Cup is a pretty good role, because Chapman's a guy who's played for Hong Kong before he's played for New Zealand, but he has so much experience of these turning conditions that, even if he comes in at the lower order, it's kind of like what Bangladesh has done with having Mushfiqur at six. It's kind of like a safety net, you could say. Um, Crowd favorite Jimmy Nisham not getting too many games. What's your thought?
Just before that, we do have a group picture with Mark Chapman, by the way.
Oh yeah, we do. Yo, that
We
might
do, we do.
I might give that as the thumbnail for today. That might be the vibe for today. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Chapman was here for the GT20 with Brampton Wolves this year. Yeah,
Yeah, Jimmy Neesham, again, crowd favorite, yes, but also he's since 2019, he has focused a lot more on T20 cricket than he has on ODI cricket. So I
yeah.
don't think it's the worst ploy to, have him as a backup. Like again, in terms of backup, you have a superstar
Superstar
all-rounder like
on the,
Jimmy Neesham,
yeah,
and you're winning matches without Kane Williams, and that just gives you that extra bit of confidence which New Zealand have. And dare I say, I've seen the 2015 World Cup very closely. I have seen a bit of the 92 World Cup through clips and highlights.
yeah,
And I can tell you that this 2023 New Zealand team feels like the most confident and most well balanced, well rounded New Zealand team that I've ever seen. The one team that's from day one gunning for that trophy. I've
yeah,
never seen New
yeah,
Zealand like this before.
yeah. And especially given the circumstances they're in, with they didn't know if Kane Williamson was going to play the World Cup, and then 2 weeks before he is playing the World Cup, he's played one game, now he's out for 3 more weeks. So the fact that guys are still secured about their positions and the role that they have in the team speaks volumes of the environment that they have created. Because for Will Young to go out for one game and then come back for the next game, it just speaks volumes about how they manage the team. And I think one of the other things is New Zealand's bowling attack. Exceptional. What are your thoughts on their performance and how they're shaping up for rest of the tournament?
Similar to the uncertainty surrounding Williamson, I think New Zealand would have been more worried about the uncertainty surrounding Trent Bolt.
Yeah,
not too long ago.
yeah, yeah.
And
Because
the fact that they
he'd
have
gone out
him
of a
now,
contract, right? Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
and the fact that they have him now in this World Cup is absolutely vital. It's a big part of their success so far. So of course, Trent Bolt leading the attack, Matt Henry, he was brilliant in 2019. He's brilliant here again.
yeah.
Same with Loki Ferguson. You know, it's funny because I was hearing in the Cricket Buzz show, I think it was Joy Bhattacharya and Harsha Bhogle talking about the fact that maybe, Loki, the way they're using Loki Ferguson now, he's not coming with the best of form in 2021 and 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
So the way they're planning on using him now is against opponents like Bangladesh and Afghanistan who struggle more against raw
Raw
pace and
pace.
bounce.
Yeah,
They're gonna play him, and once the pitches start slowing down and turning even more, that's when they bring in someone like Ish Sodhi
yeah, yeah.
or
That,
maybe
yeah.
even Tim Saudi for that
Team
matter. He
Saudi,
uses the
because
cutters better
cutters.
than
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Ferguson.
think that's exceptional planning. If you think about it, Saudi's one of their leading white ball wicket takers. He's done well in the past 12 to 18 months. He's a big reason why this team has been able to stay together. They've tried Michael Rippin from Netherlands for a game, didn't really show much. Left arm spinner, right? But they tried Todd Astle for a while, not really much. But Ish Sodhi's always stayed relevant throughout it all. So yeah, I mean, I think any time you have a wrist spinner or anytime you have three quality players like Sodhi, Saudi, and Nisham in your bench, you're that much more confident when you're stepping out with the 11 guys. I want to talk about the alpha in New Zealand cricket, Kane Williamson. Injured, couldn't even walk probably like 3 months ago or 4 months ago. Now this guy is injured and he's got his thumb all taped up and everything. Still, he's got the bib on. He's running in drinks. He's taking in message from the coach. He's talking to the guys on drinks break. How good is that to see something like that from one of your senior players?
That's what sets him apart. I remember a few months ago when his injury news, started floating around more, like after the injury in the IPL, there was a sort of not, I don't want to say a confirmation because it was basically fake news, but there was a report that he would be unavailable for 12 months, making him unavailable for the World Cup. And he even said that in case he doesn't make it to the World Cup squad, he's still going to work with the coach, basically as an assistant coach himself.
Yeah,
And there's no doubt that he would still go to India as an
yeah,
assistant coach or as a mentor, whatever role they assign him, he would
yeah,
take it. And I
yeah,
think that's what he's doing here right now.
yeah,
And knowing him and Virat Kohli may be the two very different personalities, but one thing is similar. You'll see this with Virat Kohli as well. They're always involved in
yeah,
one way or another. You ask them
yeah,
to get involved, they're always involved. They're
yeah.
always there for the team,
And they never
always
shy
there for
away from it.
whatever's needed.
Yep.
No, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Putting on that bib and carrying drinks, they don't take it as an insult. You've seen
No.
how Virat Kohli does that.
Yeah,
He
and
literally
he's
dances around
dancing
with the water
around and
bottles.
he's trying to lighten the mood and stuff like that, right? So that's what you need from guys who've been there, done that. And they might be sitting out for their odd game or so, or in some of their cases, it might be just resting or injury cases. So, and we see something similar from Ben Stokes too. He's always around the group. So it speaks a lot about these guys. To finish off today, I think we can just have a chime at what are we expecting from New Zealand and Afghanistan, but more so, what are we expecting from Afghanistan going forward with now 5 games left for them? What are you looking at?
A very tough fight against Pakistan. I don't think their Pakistan match is too far away. Maybe next week,
Maybe next
so,
week. Yeah.
sometime like that.
Yeah.
They always put up a dangerously good fight against Pakistan. Maybe they will seal the deal this time. They came very close in
Yeah.
2019, just
Yeah.
slipped away,
Yeah.
and maybe they'll put up a very good fight. And honestly, they take away 2 wins. Like they would have been eyeing three. They lost to Bangladesh. That's one match where they had, let's say, maybe a 40 to a 35% chance
Yeah. To win.
before the first ball rolled.
Right.
They lost that, so that there goes one win. They earned one against England. Again, 2, 3 wins. They end on a pretty good note. It's gonna take time. We know,
Yeah.
we as Bangladesh fans, we know that it takes time for you to have this big impact on a World Cup.
Yeah.
I want to say Bangladesh had their biggest impact maybe in 2007 for the first time when they knocked
Yeah.
India
India
out, but
out.
it's very
Yeah.
very difficult and different. We were talking about it last day as well. It's very difficult and different when the format is a 9-match format. It's very difficult for smaller teams to have that sort of an impact when
And for that
so
longer,
many matches
yeah,
need to be played.
100%. It's big ask, you know. These guys don't play more than 2 to 3 match series. They don't play as many ODIs over a 6 month cycle, even if you think about it. So to come and, you know, play 9 games in 6 weeks, uh, it is asking a lot, especially from bowling units. It is asking a lot. But I think I echo those thoughts, and especially I think if Afghanistan was to finish anywhere over 7, 8 position, that's a win on their books. I would say that's something you can take home and inspire probably another generation of cricketers in the country, that, you know, out of 10 teams you finish 7 or even 8, with 2 to 3 wins in the bag, right? So all right, big game tomorrow, Bangladesh versus India. We will be back. Either we will be super pissed off and yelling on the camera, or we will be happy and talking about only the positives in Bangladesh cricket and forgetting all the negatives, like we always do after a win against India. So stay tuned for that, and continue to like, share, and subscribe to Bagradda. Thank you for all the support.